All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Okay. Thank you. All right, good evening and welcome back to our recess meeting from last, I guess in May. You see in front of you we have a short agenda. Item number one will be our budget discussion. It's just going to be kind of a round table discussion. Any comments or anything we need to recommend to the manager in the budget, we can do so at this time.
That is correct. And I know we had talked earlier, and the board has had several different commentaries made in the last, since you got the budget package, about making some changes, particularly due to personnel or salaries or something, even some involving the COLA. So you can address all of that tonight because, like you said, it deals with the budget.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like for the county manager to explain the schedule for the budget from this point forward.
Okay, if you will, sir.
Well, tonight's it's like a workshop. I don't like to call them retreats. But so this is your workshop, and we've already had a couple small group workshops of 3 commissioners each. And so tomorrow night is like the official presentation of the budget. And what I intend to do tomorrow night is essentially is to go over my manager's letter, if you will, that outlines several things. Then it sort of kind of will stay with you and with the public any kind of commentary they want to make, and it is online. And so they can make comments. I don't know that we've received any yet, unless Holly's received some. I haven't, just a couple people making some verbal comments where I've seen them. So you're right now scheduled for adoption on June 18th, which will be obviously 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that's the remaining schedule. By state law, you have to adopt it, or else we'll be back in trouble with the LGC, Local Government Commission, if you don't adopt it before 11:59 and so many seconds on the 30th day of this month, because it will take effect on July 1. And while I'm talking about that, if you do approve any kind of COLA or any kind of raise, I'd like for you to make those effective the first full pay period in July, and I think that starts on July 7th. So that would make it easier for both HR as well as finance to get all of that into the computer system.
Okay. So the budget is supposed to be adopted June 18th.
Yes, sir.
What is the last date for changes to the budget, proposed budget, Mr. Salzman?
If you adopt it on the 18th, probably need those no later than, say, the 14th, 15th. Yeah. Because the 18th, let's see, I would say the Friday before whatever that Friday is. And so if you back it up from the 18th, 17th, 16th, 15th, 14th.
Okay. So we'll use that as a working deadline for any changes. All right, thank you.
Good. Well, I think we can make that happen.
With the changes that's made, then the budget has to go back out again. We ought to take a look at it.
Yeah, so yeah, you'd have to have time to review it, or let's say, okay, you made those changes, yes, and so we'll kind of accept that as a fait accompli.
Well, it would appear that June 14th may be a little aggressive.
That's what
You may need more time. Okay. Oh, sure. So what is a reasonable target date for having all changes completed?
The Tuesday, in other words, I'd give a week to next Tuesday. I don't know. I'm asking.
Does that work, Holly?
One thing.
I don't understand what okay. Okay, as soon as you give it to me, I can run with it and get it out to them.
11th?
The 11th.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
And one thing that helps, like last year, if we have 2 or 3 changes, we don't have to reprint the whole giant budget again. We just put the changes as an attachment to the budget. Remember, like we done last year, so it won't be like we got to print out 200 pages again.
It's kind of along the line of what I was thinking, as opposed to, put a bunch of paper together. And I think another suggestion, I don't know if that would work or not, is just an email with, once the changes are made, just email those out, and then that way every commissioner could review what they suggested and all, and just respond back to Ms. Cannon in Finance as to the status with it. That works.
I think you're correct. If you do that, and then once you get that email, you can make the motion to adopt the budget subject to those changes that are identified.
Following changes. That's what we did last year, and it worked real well.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on the budget?
Do you want us to just, if we have ideas, just throw them out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll start off with, I'd like to suggest an assistant manager position be added to the budget for Mr. Sossaman, in the fact that we've got an excellent manager in place right now, and I think it would be really important for somebody to be learning under his leadership, so that down the road that person would be able to, if doing a satisfactory job, roll into that position. And I think right now there's going to be a lot of long-term plans made, things that are going to take several years to take place, and I just think that most businesses that have long-term strategies like to have an assistant, so that person can roll on with whatever the previous manager implemented or was attempting to implement. So that would be my suggestion. Does anybody?
I think that would also aid in, just say for example, at whatever point in time Mr. Sossman decides he doesn't want to be the county manager, will cut down the amount of time it would take to get a full-time manager in place, and you take a little bit of pressure off, in my opinion.
I guess I'd like to see the job responsibilities and duties of the assistant manager. You could have an assistant manager that follows Mr. Sossaman around and not making very much contribution to the county's efforts.
Right, yeah. And that should be a job description in place, because we've had them in years past. I don't know if it's still hanging out there in HR or not, but
I looked into some other counties. I can get a position. We could use ours, of course, but like I talked to one of the commissioners in Union County, and they have an assistant, and it seems like it works real well. So they won't be just overlapping. He can share some of the responsibilities with him to free you up to be able to do more of your meetings and interactions. So if that's what we need to do, is get the position description. If that's what Commissioner Woodburn is suggesting, maybe we could look at that and table it. Is that what y'all thinking?
look at that and then determine what the salary will be, so we can see what the cost is, and what it does to the budget.
Okay. Anyone else issues within the budget that you've seen?
I'll throw out there, and I think it's very well put together. The community college is a little bit short, and actually our finance director, our vice president of finance, pointed it out to me, and the let's see, capital outlay is like $22,152 short, and then with our COLA of 5%, if it remains at that, for if I understand her right, is another right at $46,000 to cover county funded employees, making a total of $68,054. I'd like to see if it's possible to get them back to the same level of funding that they've had in the previous years.
I would certainly support that, Mr. Woodburn.
No, thank you. That's the only thing that I wanted to put out there. Oh, the 22,152 and 45,902. And the 22,152 is the capital outlay, and the 45,902 is in relation to the 5% COLA. Right. Yeah, current expense.
A question I have is, how many full-time and part-time employees do we currently have?
We have about 252 full-time 80 part-time.
80 part-time. And those part-time wages, they range from what amount to what amount? Just roughly. I don't need the exact amount.
952 is the lowest.
935.
935?
$9.35, that's per hour?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the highest is, because I've just pulled it for Commissioner Mills, was,
3707.
yes.
Okay. All right, let's look at Axe. What does a part-time Axe driver make?
1325.
1525.
13.
1325. And what does a part-time election worker make?
I don't have.
I'm sorry?
1289.
1280.
This is just the office, this isn't including like the phone work.
Sure, I understand. You know, I'd like to see the county consider a bare bones minimum part-time hourly salary. You know, $12, $13, $14 an hour is not a lot of money. And I think as a county we can do better than that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
You have a figure in
I
mind?
think,
I've got
well-
one, but I want to hear yours first.
well, my figure was $15 an hour.
We're on
We're on the same
then.
page? $15 an hour is the bare bones minimum for any part-time employee. Now, what complications would that raise?
Go ahead.
We have some minimum, the minimum hourly wages for a full-time is not even 15.
That's what I was gonna ask, what,
So you'll be potentially having full-time people who don't make $15 an hour, and part-time people make 50 more than they do. So we just have to look at those positions that potentially is gonna be making less than $15 an hour.
So we have full-time employees not making $15 an hour?
So that definitely need to be changed.
That needs to be changed.
But if you take the minimum on the pay scale,
Go by the pay scale.
it's 1220
Tw-
on the lowest one. So you would just have to look at person by person to see where they fall, depending on where they're at in years of service and, the COLAs and stuff like that. But
What-
potentially you could have somebody, depending on.
What about looking at it just kind of across the board, minimum pay for full-time and part-time as $15 an hour, and just see what the impact is? As opposed to going through what you just said. That's a lot of work, if I understand it right in my feeble brain, what you just threw out there about looking at each individual employee and all that. I'd say just look, just make it cut and dry, look at full-time as well as part-time, and see with everybody starting at 15, what would that be?
So you're proposing us to come back with a revised pay scale with a minimum.
The impact of that, the impact, across the board, for everybody, full-time and part-time.
Part-time.
And if I'm wrong, you let me know. I'm thinking that's just a clear-cut way, a quick clear-cut way to do it, as opposed to looking into detail of each individual employee and the job status, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, am I through?
Yeah.
Not yet, but please, I'll pass.
No, go.
No,
I wanted to make sure you do. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, you're fine, please.
that is, Commissioner Reed, go ahead.
Ms. Little Reed, please.
I didn't want to interrupt y'all.
No, you're fine.
It's a round table discussion.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I would like to express what a county employee brought to my attention.
Okay.
With a 5% increase, the top people will see the biggest increase, the people that makes the most, right? But I would like to suggest that everybody get a flat fee for maybe like 2,000 across the board or either 3,000 across the board. And with that suggestion, everybody, with the $3,000, 90% of the employees will see an increase above 5%. And this information is based on the information that, the figures that Holly sent us in February. And the numbers are probably influx a little bit, somewhat. But what I came up with the $1,500 flat fee, it'll be $541,500. With the 2,000 increase, it'll be $722,000. And with the, if we decide, it depends on which one we want to give them. And with the $3,000 increase, it'll be $1,830,000. So that way, it'll put the lower people up on a higher increase, and not the higher people, you know, kind of remain steady. Does that make sense?
How would you decide who gets 3,000?
Everybody, it's a flat free going across the board for everybody.
Everybody gets 3,000
'Cause
if we decide to do it.
Yes, sir, because the
All right.
top person right now, they would make like 71,000, and then the lower person only gets, with the 5% increase, will only gets like $947, something like that. So that's a big difference between the 7,000 and the 900. And when, if you just do a flat fee across the board, and that'll bring the lower people up a little bit more, because you was just talking about acts needing to increase. That would bring them up some. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Are you talking about that being a one-time raise?
It's like, instead of the 5%, it's just the 5% increase. It's just a, yeah, like a one-time raise for everybody.
So it would not be a recurring COLA, so to speak?
No.
Well, with that in mind, what would happen next year?
If you want to do it next year, you could do it again. Because if you're going to give them a raise, it's going to be pretty much, if you give them a 5% raise again next year, it'll be pretty much the same. The people on the top are going to get more, and the people on the bottom are going to get less.
Oh, I understand that. I'm just saying, I mean,
So either way, you're going to either have to pay the 5%, because this is incorporating the 5%. But the 5% is like the bottom person only get $972, and the other one, the top person gonna get $7,100.
I understand what you're saying. The top person has a lot greater responsibility
And I understand that too.
than the lower level employees. And that's where I'm having some difficulty. It seems to me like 5% across the board would be equitable. And if you're making $100,000, you get 105. If you're making $25,000, $30,000, you get 5% of that amount.
But no, I was just throwing it out here. You do whatever you want to, but I just wanted to throw it out there because a citizen brought it to my attention. Whatever you decide to do, that's fine. But I just wanted to put that out there.
What I'd like to suggest is we take it under advisement for the next budget. And this time, since we've already pretty much agreed to a 5% increase, COLA increase for each employee, that we stick with that plan and then look at an alternative for next year. Is that okay, Ms. Little Reed?
Sure, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
I'm just gonna advocate.
No.
But when you do the $3,000 or whatever amount it is, that's, like you said, it's a one-time thing. When we do the COLAs, employees see that paycheck after paycheck. To me, that's a big of a difference. It's just like it was just here recently when we gave that bonus. It's a one-time thing. Once you tax it, what you get is what you get, but it's gone. But then you're not seeing it paycheck after paycheck. So that's why it still became stagnant to where their salaries stay the same, because they need that COLA to keep the salary going up.
But if you only gonna do if you at the bottom and you're only gonna get $972, that's just putting you in a high tax bracket. You're not bringing any more money home. Now, you're not bringing that much more. Let me put it like that. You're not bringing that much more money. It's gonna put you in a higher tax bracket for the people who sitting at the bottom. And you know what? If you don't want to do it, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I was just putting it out there. If we want to continue with the 5% that we said we was gonna do, that's fine too. I don't have a problem. I was just telling you what an employee brought to my attention.
I got you. I was just throwing that as far as dollar amount.
But you were saying this would be a permanent $3,000 raise, not just a bonus. You'd be given $3,000 instead of 5%, is what you're saying. So she's saying,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. I misunderstood.
Yeah, I think I missed that part too. That it was going to be a permanent.
Yeah, I thought it was just a one-time
A
bonus.
permanent
Yeah.
$3,000 raise instead of 5%. And how much did the $3,000 each cost? Versus, I think it was $836 for the 5% COLA.
It was $865 for the 5% COLA, and that would be like 1,830,000.
Oh, for 3%, okay. I mean 3,000.
3,000.
So it costs a lot.
But if it's a permanent raise, it's going to be 1.1 million every year.
Yeah.
Plus whatever happens next year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, along the lines that pay scales are usually commensurate with the level of difficulty for the job. And so basically what you're telling the higher paid people is your expertise isn't worth any more than the lower paid person. That's why. That'd be my concern.
That's not what I'm telling you. I was just putting it out there. No, sir, that's not what I was saying.
Oh, I understand. I'm just trying to show you an interpretation.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. It's not that they do any less or anything like that, or the lower people doing it more.
Full
But
time.
It was just trying to put it out. It was just trying to put it out, for everybody
I
to get the
understand,
same,
I
instead of,
understand.
some people get 7,000 and then some just get none.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm just kind of, it's gonna take a lot for me to deal with that.
Yeah. So, okay. Okay. Any other issues? Well, this is the budget workshop.
I know, but I want to talk about a incident that happened this weekend. Somebody brought to my attention that could have been serious.
Okay. Can we discuss it once we finish with the budget?
That's true.
Well,
Yes, sir.
okay. So, okay. Just remind me. Okay.
Did we get the other numbers in for the EMS and?
Yes, Holly, if you'll. Thank you.
There's several other things in this package too.
I already got one. It's the same one. Yeah.
I don't know if you just want me to briefly just go over it, or y'all just wanna take a look at it and just, and then y'all can ask questions. So the EMS is on page, starts on page 4.
Holly, would you like to explain the sheriff's recommendation? There are a lot of numbers here, and
Correct.
it's going to take me some time to go through them.
Yeah, that's correct. That's why it's probably just a little bit.
Actually, all of them,
easier to
actually.
go through it.
Yeah.
What I was asked to do was to calculate what the 6.3% would be in addition to the 5% COLA for the sheriff department. And it's on top of the 5%, so it actually ended up being about 11.6% increase. The cost for the 6.3 in addition to the 5% COLA is that last number is $67,424. So that's what it would be, to get us at the playing, as is it Montgomery? Is it Montgomery County? To where their salaries are at, cause I know they're looking at giving the 5% increase as well, right? Yeah.
So is the recommendation an 11.6% increase
That's what it would
for
be.
every sheriff employee?
No.
Deputy. This
Every
is just the
deputy.
Deputies on the road.
This is just the entry-level deputies.
This is not your detectives, your chief deputy or your sheriff. This is just the deputy.
Now, can you give us that again? You broke it down to 3 point what now? The total amount is 11 points.
11.63.
Okay,
For them to
11.63.
receive the 5%, it's gonna be $50,967. To give them the 11.6%, it would be $118,000. So you're looking about a $67,000 difference. And that's just to get us to the same playing ground with the deputies in Montgomery County.
So if I'm a new recruit, my entry-level assignment will pay me 11.6% more than current. Now, how does that compare to the most recent employees that we've hired in the sheriff's department?
Well, this will be moving everybody who's currently a deputy to the same pay. They have asked to move everybody to the same pay.
To the same pay?
Correct. Right?
Yes,
Yes.
as your entry level,
That's
yes.
your entry level, yeah. So right now we have 19 deputies. We got 3 other positions we're adding. So I think it'll be a total of 19 that this would affect.
this would just be if you went to Montgomery County, you would be making, as an entry-level deputy, you make the same thing. Instead of us now, we're 27, what I tell you, 27 something, we're short that amount from what they just got the raise to, and they're getting the 5%. So the 5% is just really out of, it's basically the amount before the 5%, because everybody's gonna get that 5%.
This will put them a rough around $47,000 a year, just to give you an idea of the annual salary.
How close to the next level would that take them to, say, a sergeant or one of the, how close is the next level up to the?
I'm not sure, I haven't looked at that data.
I'm not sure.
That's somewhere around 52,000 to 53,000. And the way it is currently, a supervisor position is that much difference between 44,000 and 52,000 for basically doing a lots of the same duties on the shift. And like Holly said, this is for entry-level positions only. Just a straight deputy position that's at the bottom of the pay scale. It won't be for a sergeant or above. And it's for 18 or 19 people, which is half of our staff is at bottom pay at sheriff's office.
Now, do we have similar situations in other departments?
Yes.
I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure we probably have it in every department, to be honest. But this is a request that the sheriff department has asked, that the county manager did not recommend, but we was able to provide, we was asked to provide it to you.
Sheriff, could you explain a little bit about the investment in BLET training and what happens there?
As we talked about last year, that's roughly between $4,000 and $5,000 now. The state law is changing July the 1st, that a deputy, anybody that I hire to be a deputy, has to be sworn, already has to have completed basic law enforcement training and passed a state exam before I can hire them as a deputy. SPCC runs approximately 2 schools per year. It's 18 weeks long. Richmond County has ran 2 schools in the last year and a half. So you can see if everybody has to go to BLET before they can be hired, you can see how competitive those classes are going to be with the limited number of classes being given. And so basically what we're going to be faced with 2 things. Someone comes in and puts the application in unless we create a cadet position where they can come in unsworn. They will have, on their own, have to wait until the basic law enforcement school begins, pay their own money, go and complete the school, then pass the state exam, and then come looking for a job. But as we know, that at SPCC, Union County is going to be sitting on the doorstep giving everybody an application who walks out that door. And their starting pay just went up to $58,000. They're going to get a $1.50 raise starting January the 1st, and that's going to bring starting deputy pay up in Union County to $61,240. And the second scenario is, and we don't have people beating the door down right now to come to work. So if someone has to wait a year, once they come and knock on the door and say, hey, I'd like to be a deputy, we explain that process to them, and then it takes them a year, they're not going to come back here. They might even change their mind, like we have lots of times, to stay in the same job they're doing now. The other scenario is, the worst case scenario, is we're forced into hiring someone else's problem child because they got in trouble somewhere and they're already certified, and they choose to leave that position rather than being disciplined or let go, and then we have to be forced into considering that person, not saying we would hire that person, because I'm not going to hire someone. I traditionally have found out that if they have problems at one agency, it eventually shows up at the second place. You know, it may not the first 6 months, but after that it's going to show up. And so our best bet is to get ahead of some of these agencies that are around us that have taken some of our people, and try to fill our positions now with the minimum amount of money it's going to cost us. Now, if we have a cadet position put in, we could hire someone that would not be sworn. They would ride in a patrol car and get on-the-job training just like they was in the field training program. And then when school opened up, then we would put them in that school, and then when they graduate and pass the test, then we would hire them as a full-fledged deputy. If we don't do that, I don't know anybody's going to wait a year to get a job in law enforcement now, because they're not beating down the door now. And it's and I didn't hear all the numbers that she quoted. I think that just for this year to catch some of those guys up, if it was 18 or 19 positions, it was like $60-something thousand for 18 people to make a difference in their life. 18 people. We're not talking about the whole office, and I'm not recommending the whole office get raises based on this information we're talking about right now. And it's basically to boost up the entry-level people, that so we can keep what we got to begin with, and then be able to hopefully recruit some from somewhere else. Now, I'll tell you that Montgomery County has traditionally been the lowest paying agency anywhere around, and that's why they had to pay that big percentage to get it up to where they're at now.
Okay, you said Union County, $61,000 for a starting deputy.
That will be in January.
In
yes.
January.
It's
Montgomery County
58,000.
is how much?
It's $58,000 right now with no experience.
What about Richmond?
Richmond is basically in the same category that we're in, basically.
Which is?
44,000.
44,000. And we are?
We're at 44,078.
078. Okay, I understand the issue.
In Stanley County, I think the sheriff up there sandbags on me just a little bit, and they're at 45,325. They've also done a year-long pay study, and they have not got any raises or anything. In the last time I talked to the sheriff up there, the study have not even been revealed to any of the department heads in Stanley County. So I don't know what kind of information that they got from the study and how they're going to implement it.
Can you tell me how, so currently today, if you hire a deputy or somebody wants to be a police officer that's not going through BLET, do we as a county pay for that training, or do they still pay for that on their own?
We pay for that training.
So going forward, we're no longer going to be paying for that training, because they're going to have that training before you ever hire them.
That's correct.
Okay. So essentially, we're just offsetting that cost by paying for it from the county if they get a starting pay raise.
Yes, that's the idea of being able to skip the BLET process altogether.
Okay. Thank you.
So how do we respond to other departments that have issues hiring qualified individuals, and they're not getting an extra boost in their starting pay rates?
Well, I'll tell you, standing here, I wish everybody could. And I know that every agency in the county is deserving of getting raises, and they deserve the money that they get. We at the sheriff's office obviously deal with life and death situations every day, and it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. There's also other agencies that rely on us before they go to certain places. EMS has addresses flagged in the dispatcher's computer they will not go to without a deputy being present. Same thing for social services. Same thing that the animal shelter deals with. They call us to go to certain places. So if they can't go to those places without us, then they're not being able to do their job, and the citizens are not receiving the benefits of that employment the way it's designed to do. And I just know that when I come before you, I can only speak for my department or my office. And I'll tell you, what I've proposed is what my employees deserve and need. I know that didn't answer your question, but I'll tell you, we have openings at the sheriff's office.
Don't look at me. I'm retired. Okay?
Some of those
I'm
could
not
come.
interested.
Some of those could come and apply, and I wish they would, maybe in a lateral program, you know. But I don't know the answer to that question, and I know it's a financial burden, but I know that when we don't have somebody to respond to calls for service when it's a dangerous situation in people's home, that that's going to be a tragedy.
Sheriff, I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You were saying about the BLT that the money's gonna offset, well, the county won't have to pay. And then you said something about a ride along, they can do that, and then they can go back and get the BLT?
If we have someone to come in that's going to be a great person that we need to hire on the spot, then we can hire them as an unarmed person, and then they can ride along and get on-the-job training until a school comes up. Now, if we do that, then we'll have to pay for that school. I would think that if we create a position like that, it wouldn't be a full-fledged deputy's pay. It would be less than that. And then when they pass the basic law enforcement program and pass the state exam, and then we can swear them in as a deputy, then they would go to deputy pay them.
But you're saying that the money that we're getting, that for the asking for the raise, the 11.63, that's gonna take care of the 4,000 for the BOT. Is that included?
If we are able to draw in people from other departments that's not making that account of money.
Okay. Any other questions for the sheriff?
Well, I was trying to think. I mean, and I think and I may have misunderstood what was said. I know right now, when you were talking about the hiring them as cadets, and they'd be a ride-along to get their training, I think somewhere along the line I heard skip BLET. You won't skip BLET. You got to have BLET training.
You have to have the BLET program,
okay.
yes.
That's
What
I
it would
was
do, it would give us an opportunity to give a person a job rather than tell them to come back in a year after they've completed the program and then come back.
Right.
If they're a promising employee, then we'd be able to hire them in that position and keep them and train them. And as I found out before with some of the guys that y'all met here when I brought to the meeting, the guys that we can hire and they ride along 2 or 3, 4 months before they go to BLET, those guys are so far along by the time they get out of BLET that it's a very shorter period of training on the other end. And so it's easier for us, or it seems like it's better if we can hire them beforehand, give them some ride-along hands-on experience, and then once they completed the bookwork part of it and kind of put the two together, once they come back, the FTL program is shorter.
Right.
So how many more deputies do you need?
We have 6 vacancies right now.
Okay.
And that's why that the amount of money, if the 6.3% to catch up with Montgomery County is approved now, then that's why it would be at a lower cost now, because we have vacancies that won't need to be at this particular time funded for that particular raise.
Any other questions for Sheriff?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to throw stuff through my feeble brain.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Woodburn.
So I'm trying to run some stuff through my feeble brain. I'm
Oh, I
thinking more
see.
along the lines of the
Understand.
whole workforce, and I don't know. And I mean, I understand what the sheriff is saying, and you know, I feel like he needs to help. But we did this sometime back in the past, and then the whole county got disgruntled. So I don't know. Just help me out a little bit if we can figure out something.
I guess one question I should ask, Sheriff, how many deputies have you hired since a year ago? 8?
7 or 8.
Okay. Thank you.
And Sheriff, how many have you lost?
We've lost 4.
Lost 4.
1 to, and all 4 to Wadesboro PD.
Really? Sheriff, don't leave now. Now, let me ask you this. What is the starting salary for a Wadesboro police officer?
I have no idea, but I know that the information that they're putting out is somewhere around $50,000.
Around 50,000.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Now, I don't know that to be true. I'm just telling you what people come back and say that's actually been over and talked with them.
All right. Thank you.
No, one time in the past, it was kind of commonplace, you know, people would go to work as a sheriff's deputy, and the next thing you know, you see them on the Wadesboro Police Department, and then sometime later you see them back with the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that much here lately, but that was happening at one point in time in the past.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Okay, Holly, can you, I guess, explain page 4 now?
Okay, page 4, we're looking at EMS. EMS is sort of in this, I think, the same situation or much dire. They've had, how many vacancies this year? At least 6 to 8 vacancies on an ongoing basis. And we've been asked to just, go back and look at what it would cost to move your EMTs to $20 an hour and your basic paramedics to $28 an hour. What I also had to do is look at, in addition to your basic paramedics, you have your paramedics that are your field training officers, and you have paramedics who are your shift supervisors. So in addition to looking at the $28 for the paramedics, we had to look at the other individuals within EMS. Because if not, they would be making a lot less than your basic EMT, your basic paramedics. So what I did is I took the difference in their current pay range, their current hourly rate, and came up with a percentage to be above the $28. And that's where the little side note is if you look to the right. So there's basically a 4% difference between your field training officers and your basic paramedics. There's basically an 8.5% difference currently between your shift supervisors and your field training officer, and then there's a 22.8% difference between your shift supervisors to your EMS coordinator. So that's why you see a much higher salary than the 28 for those individuals, to try to keep them proportionally at a higher rate. This does not include emergency management services. This is only EMS services. We're only asked to look for them at 5%, but they're here as well, if you can see those. To do this, you're looking at, it's going to cost us an additional $191,000. And the percentage of increase varies between position, and that's the second to last column on the right. You'll see the total percentage increase. It does include the 5% COLA, but this will be the increase that they will be potentially receiving if this plan is approved.
And the reason the $28 and the $20 come in is because that's what the starting pay is in our neighboring counties, correct?
From what we have been provided.
From the salary study that was provided by EMS.
Well, the salary study didn't really tell us that. It just told us the range. So the information we received from Rodney and Brian is 28 and 20.
Okay.
I know Ms. Ingram is trying to triangulate that and confirm that, but we have not as of this afternoon.
Okay.
But if that is what she finds out, then yes.
Okay.
Oh, I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do we need to be in order for us to just pay the whole 11.5 or the 12.5 across the board to everybody, and not just different departments? Where do the county need to be on the money?
5% is 800.
5 was 8, so 1.6, $1.9 million.
I'd say 1.5 times that would be where you would get everybody if everybody got 12%.
Do you think that'll ever be possible?
Well, I want to ask the question,
we've
can
already
we
appropriated-
afford to do it this year?
We've already appropriated over $7 million of fund balance, and that includes, I know Lynn, I don't know if Lynn's giving y'all the little summary of the benefits and stuff. Most of the benefit recommendations we are making have very, small, financial impact. The impacts where the COLA comes in. And then other, benefits we can control is health insurance and retirement rates that are going up. Those are not in our control. But with the 5% across the board, it's over $800,000. So if you're talking about doing 10%, double that. Just to give you an idea.
She's right. The 5% COLA for everyone across the board is $836,845. So if you wanted to add another 5 to that, you might as well say that's 1.7 and change, 1.7 million and change.
Can we afford to do it?
If that additional 800 some thousand would like everything else she just mentioned, that cost us to add to the budget $7,153,418 from your undesignated fund balance. So that would mean bumping that number up to 8 million versus 7.1 million. And so that's, and now, gosh, because right now, if we do it the way we're talking about, it leaves us roughly a 29% undesignated fund balance. So it would reduce that number probably to at least 27%.
By the audit being up to date, is that not putting us in a category where we can like assist at least with trying to get everybody the same amount of money?
Well, I'm not saying it won't. I'm just giving you the facts. It's like a couple of weeks ago you heard that our tax base was growing. That may be because we haven't got to our reval yet, which won't be until 26. But right now, if you look at my letter on the first page, it says that your tax base grew at 1.98%. That's less than 2%. That is not healthy. And that's because, you know, we haven't got all the new construction in there, because until it gets to a certain point in the construction process, we can't tax it.
And then we're not allowed by law to collect more than our collection rate from the prior year.
You can't budget that.
We can't budget 100% of what we're gonna be,
Right.
basically.
Right.
We can only
But we
budget
know there's $4 million
93%.
of uncollected taxes sitting out there on the books.
Yeah, we
That's
have
the
that,
killer.
plus we have 93, I can only budget 93% of that, what we're gonna build this year too.
Yes.
So that's revenue that we could recognize instead of in our fund balance.
That's right.
Or budgeting our fund balance.
Yes. If we work on tax collections, that's where we can afford to give an 11% raise to every employee.
But that's gonna take several years. I'm just not trying to, it's not like that can happen tomorrow. But I mean, with the efforts of the tax office, it's gonna take several years for them to get that.
Just as an example, if you've got $4 million sitting out there in uncollected taxes, if we collected 20% of that, that's 800,000. That would essentially cover that other 5% COLA.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, and we've had multiple discussions on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's imperative from an EMS standpoint that we address the shortfalls in their budget. I can tell you I've had conversations with the EMS committee that we've had, and when we lose 1 to 2 more paramedics, we no longer have an EMS service provided in this county. The state's going to mandate that we provide that service. They're going to mandate that you're going to contract that service out with a company in the state. I promise you the company that you contract with is going to pay more than $20 an hour for a paramedic. And do you know who pays that contract? The county's going to pay it. In 2000, I think it was 2000 or 2002, the county contracted out an EMS service, and they got away from it. Mr. Woodburn, you probably remember, because it wasn't financially responsible to be paying that. It was too much money. So we've skimped by all these years not paying our paramedics and EMTs, and it's catching up with us. They're going to surrounding counties. If you can make $28 an hour in Stanley County, do you want to come to work here for $20 an hour? I mean, it don't take much to figure that one out. So we've got to invest in our EMS services in our county. We invested in our sheriff's department. We've seen direct increases in hires from that. So we've got to invest in these services.
And we already know that Montgomery and Richmond County have outsourced theirs.
Do we have a way to
They're with First Health.
do we have a way to compare that cost that Richmond County's incurred? I know they have a bigger number than we do, but if we could prorate that according to how much they charge for first choice and how much additional money we would have to pay if we don't give this increase.
So Montgomery County, she just texted me what the hourly rate is. They do contract the first health. So paramedics are making $20 an hour and EMTs are making $15 an hour. And then they do contract, and then with Richmond, he didn't give me the hourly rate. He told me how much they contract for.
1.6 million.
Yeah, 1.6 million per year. But he didn't have to break down the hourly rate. He was working on getting that for me. And then she also emailed me the sheriff office information, which confirms with Chief Mims and Sheriff Howell I mentioned earlier about the wages and everything. So that's everything I have so far.
So what Montgomery County is telling us is that they currently contract with First Help, and First Help is paying $20 an hour for paramedics and $15 for EMTs. And I'm not sure what Richmond is, but they're all with First Help too, so I'm not sure if they'll be comparable or more or less. And their contract is over $1.6 million with First Help with Richmond. We did get that information.
And that's Richmond County, you said?
That's Richmond County.
Okay.
We don't know how much the contract is with Montgomery.
And Mr. Chairman, I see it because on the backside, we did the same thing in the jail. And the jail is costing us anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 a month to get assistance. So you don't want the sheriff's office coming the same way as the lowest part of the deputies, because you're still gonna have your hirers up, but as far as your footstool deputies, those are the ones, if you lose them, then that's we're going to go back into the same way of a contract to figure out something to still try to have shifts covered. That's going to be the same way.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm still hung up on looking out for all county employees, because everybody's important. I understand where the sheriff's coming from. I understand where EMS is coming from. My thinking is, and I'm directing this to the county manager, I would think, and I may be wrong, and correct me if I am, a 27% fund balance is still fairly healthy, right? Or are we getting into real negative ground if we drop from 29 to 27?
Well, right now, undesignated is 11.7, which is less than what it was the prior year. So you're starting to see a slippery slope of that going down.
Okay.
Not sure where this year's going to fall, because we had a lot of stuff to pay out this year. A lot of, things with different issues with like overtime.
Right,
Those
understand.
things that we had to cover this year, and some legal representation. So not sure where that's going to fall when it comes to the end of the year, but we still have a healthy fund balance. There's no question about that.
That's what I was thinking.
But I would love to see us not keep going.
Right,
I don't want us to go
understand.
down. I would like us to continue to contribute to it and to be able to provide more benefits and more pay for all employees at the same time.
Okay, my next question would be, looking at this figure, 11 or 12%, if we split it up over 2 years, do half of it this year and then half of it next year, would that work for, say, the Sheriff's Department EMS? Would that are they still here?
What, I mean, yeah. I'm not sure if it will resolve your EMS issue. It's a much bigger gap.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I'm trying to figure out a way to get from where we are now with all employees, and a way to do it without, getting in trouble, as you were just pointing out. Because you said you didn't want the fund balance to.
We got to help the fund balance, though. No, I do not want to discredit that. We've done fairly, really well. We've been very good stewards of our county dollars and our citizen dollars, to be honest.
Okay. Well, that puts us back to where it was before then.
We've got there because we haven't paid competitive wages.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Okay. The more you spend, the less you save.
Mr. Woodman, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If we could go across the board and elevate all of our employees, okay, as opposed to picking and choosing, I think that would be a much better approach. Even if we have to be extra aggressive and go with a 9 or 10 or 11% increase across the board, I think it was well worth it to recognize and reward all of our employees on that basis.
And get the sheriffs and the EMS where they need to be.
Yes.
Well, if you look at it from the perspective that you're talking about, and I know Ms. Wolverine has said a number of times, Commissioner Ms. Wolverine, what we've got on the books now, that was being recommended was another almost 192,000 for the EMS, if you did all of that, right, Holly? And then the other 6.3% for the sheriff's office deputies only would be another 67,000 and change. So that's 250,000 or so.
Right.
If you gave, I'm just wondering what's your best, if you wanted to help everybody out, and if it would still help out the sheriff's people as well as the EMS folks, if you just did a flat 10% COLA or 7.5% COLA for everybody. It doesn't quite get the EMS folks where they need to be, it doesn't quite get the sheriff's folks, but versus a 6.3 and a 5 is 11.6 something. So if you did 10, you're only roughly 1.5 off. So that still gets very close to that number they were looking for. I'm just, that's a question I'm asking.
I mean, it definitely gets the sheriff department closer, but it does not get
Still doesn't
not
get-
get EMS.
No,
That's what- that's-
EMS is still way back,
Yeah.
I know.
No, I'm really concerned because we've had these vacancies all year, to be
That's-
honest, and we have not hired.
We
that
approved
new
6
vac-
new positions last year in our budget for EMS when we went to a 2472, and we've not hired a single one of them.
So what's happening is everybody they're still hypothetically working on the old schedule, but everybody's getting tons of overtime.
Our overtime was $700,000 last year.
And it's a lot more this year, and we've already had to cover it because we anticipated those positions being filled, but they were not.
So that's a possibility of taking that $700,000 off the cost.
That's correct. If we invest that $700,000 in salaries, theoretically, we won't have near the overtime to pay. So,
So technically, if we can get the raises up, we're not saying that that's the answer to everything, because we do have, availability, we have training, things that need to be resolved as far as getting people paramedic training, EMT training, those things have to be done, but if we can couple all that together at the same time, we're hoping, I'm sure EMS is hoping that they can actually get these positions filled. But they're not able to recruit people right now. It's a combination of a lot of.
Well, really, the last time I checked on the website, we had about 30 vacancies across the county. 30.
That's probably correct.
Yeah, about 30.
That's-
Yeah, so there are more than just the sheriff and EMS
Right.
involved in this.
but,
Yes, it is.
But the focus has been with the board is emergency services and, safety and security. I know that was the primary last year. And we continue to try to move forward at too. And in addition to, helping everybody else at the same time. It's really a hard place to be in.
I agree.
Your job is very hard.
My recommendation would be to just see if we can move forward at 11%.
I would agree with you, Mr. Whitburn, across the board.
Let's do it. I mean, that's
11% across the board.
I'm not trying to be wasteful or anything like that, and I hear what you're saying, Ms. Berry, but I think in recognition of the situation that we're in, and like I said, I'm still hung up on all county employees, not just 2, 3, or 4 departments. My thinking is, let's do something for everybody.
I agree with you, Mr. Whitburn, Commissioner.
What would that do, Mr. Chairman, to the EMS folks who looking for Santa across the board?
well, I mean, it's going to help. It's going to get a couple of them where they need to be, according to Ms. Berry's chart here.
Yeah, it's only gonna get 3 or 4.
3 or 4. I still think we need to invest some of that $700,000 that we're already paying to that department. They're not getting a raise. They've already been paid that. We need to invest that back into the salaries. That way we can hire the employees and cut that number down.
So my thinking was we do this increase, and as you mentioned, filling those vacancies, that money would go to helping get the others that this increase is not getting them where they need to be, and that $700,000 would be my thinking. I mean, that makes sense.
So I guess my question, Ms. Berry, if you do a proposal for the EMS and do everybody that's 11%, is that still gonna be roughly about the same, or will it be more?
If you're talking about go with this proposal in addition to 11%?
I'm talking about for EMS, with the proposal that Commissioner Calder was talking about putting back in to let them have what they have so we can gain employment there for the raise. And I guess, and then with the 11% that Commissioner Commissioner Woodburn done, what would be the amount roughly on that to add to that? Because I guess y'all put all employees would be under the.
It's probably gonna be 6 months to a year or a year and a half before you're gonna realize any any people from the training for paramedics and EMT. So you're looking at, it's not like we're gonna be able to hire everybody July 1st.
Yeah.
So if we put this in place, at least it'll give you great recruitment to send people to training and stuff, and we can look at maybe paying them to go to training and different things, and hiring just similar to the sheriff's department, and having a trainer for paramedics. We do have, I believe we have EMTs that want to be a paramedic.
That's correct.
So, and we're able, and from what I was told, we're able to get more EMTs than we are paramedics.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a combination of a lot of different things to try to get us to be able to hire people.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a while before we even get all the positions filled.
Right.
Yes.
So really, in other words, this number here really wouldn't be true the same way with us because you don't have them filled.
don't have them
It's
filled.
only comes to the fact when it becomes field positions.
It's just where it's going to have the impact currently is current employees, and retaining them and not losing them to other counties, because we just lost 2 individuals recently in the last month or so, I believe.
We
Yeah.
lost 2 in 1 week, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
So I mean, we're very. I don't know their situation. I just know that they're very slim, the department, and we might have 1 or 2 trucks for the whole county at one time, and we're trying to get a 3rd truck, and we can't even keep a 1
Can't
or
manage
2
who you got.
That's right.
The 2 trucks we have running without employees working all the time. We do have some part-time, but they have other jobs as well. So this might be another way of getting part-time people to come work for us. That we already know their ability and what they have to bring to the table.
Yes, sir. Or, yes, ma'am. And I don't, in other words, I know you see the $191,000 it's going to cost, but there again, by giving that, hopefully we're going to pull out of that $700,000 balance in overtime. Right. So it is. I don't think the $191,000 is going to come out of our fund balance. To be honest, I think we're going to see our overtime salaries reduced.
We're able to fill all the positions we currently have. Then the overtime will be dramatically reduced.
It will be less. It won't be 0. I don't think overtime will ever go to 0.
No, it
but
will not, because of the way they're
yeah,
scheduled.
that's right. So,
One
so
thing
yes.
I'd like to ask before it's held on, and I know you're very much aware of it, is that if you get a chance, you've got any sway, and I know Mr. Woodburn does with SPCC, they have to start providing paramedic training, because we've got people that can teach it, but they want to have it all
At
on
Polkton.
Monroe campus, and they don't have it here inside
Yes.
our. And actually, we're at a point to where if they get a little more equipment, it could be taught at our emergency services center.
All right.
And I think that's in the works.
It's in the works. We've
yes.
worked on it, but like I said, that's why I said don't beat them up.
I will encourage them. We've got a meeting next week, so I don't know.
Okay.
Bring that up.
I know that they're willing to offer part of it, but there's another part because of their equipment and stuff that's not at this site. So it would be very helpful if we can get all the training here. And I know we have somebody that's willing to do the training that works for us too,
Yeah.
Okay.
which is great.
That might be a plus as well. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's already accredited or certified through South Piedmont as instructor. So,
And how else would it be to train on people who's going to come to work for us? The way we want them to train to work.
Well, one thing, in any emergency service job, we got to be concerned about overtime for the sake of the stress that's involved with having to work all that extra hours. So we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, Katie and I. We're really concerned about the liability of our EMTs and paramedics working those extra shifts.
yeah, somebody who's worked 48 or 72 hours straight. If they're coming to my emergency, I want them to be
Nice and
fully
fresh.
rested up and ready to go.
Well, we have a
And
similar
that's different.
situation at the water department, at the filtration plant.
I agree. So,
I mean, we had a tour there several months ago, and the operator that was there, I thought he was going to hit me because I said, boy, this is an easy job. And he let me know in no uncertain terms that he'd been working double shifts. And that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And the reason we're in this situation is because we've underpaid our employees over time. And now we need to adjust to get out of this mess. And I really support Mr. Woodburn's recommendation of an 11% increase this year across the board, and then we make the necessary adjustments at EMS that we need to in order to keep our staff and hopefully recruit some new ones.
Exactly.
so,
Am I hearing that board is well, you can vote tonight because this isn't a continued meeting, do you want that 11% put in the budget that you hopefully will be adopting on June 18th?
I will make that as a motion.
I
I
second.
second it.
And
I'll
also,
second. I'll second.
Okay.
and EMS, are we moving forward with this plan with EMS
You
as well?
both seconded.
Move forward.
Yes,
Yes, and move forward with the 191, yes.
yes.
So, okay, so let me get this straight. So we got a motion on the floor by Mr. Woodburn to approve an 11% raise across the board for all county employees. And do you want to include in that motion to include the 191,000,
I'll do that.
or do you want to make it a separate motion?
I'll do that. I'll make that part. I'll amend my motion to include that.
And a second.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Woodburn for 11% pay raise across the board with 191,000 added back into the EMS as your proposal has here.
And to also, even though it's on Lynn's part and you'll hear about it, but to move the EMS part-time to the minimum start pay in paramedics. Right now, they're way below that.
Okay, yeah, that was in his plan originally.
that's in his
Yes,
plan
yes, yes.
originally, yes.
Okay, so we have that motion by Mr. Woodburn. We have a second by Commissioner Little Reed and Commissioner Gatewood. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Holly.
And then the last sheet was just more information. I just had some questions about capital outlay. Just look at it at your convenience, just to tell you what departments have asked for and what we have funded and what we have not. So that give you an opportunity to look at that if you decide you wanna add something back or if you wanna take something out. Okay?
Can I ask, does that include the vehicle for animal shelter?
If you look at it, animal shelter is not funded for a vehicle. Their budget is 43.8. New animal
Yeah,
control truck.
animal control truck. But-
And then there was also, on back, there's some questions about economic development and what we funded. I just got a quick reference for you of what we're paying out for economic development. And then the last part is the questions about lap salaries. I did put what I projected lap salaries to be, and that's in the back part of it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry.
I'd just like to mention that Animal Shelter's asked for a new vehicle for several years in a row, and I thought we had taken that into consideration, and it seems like maybe it's not been identified.
Sorry.
The Animal Shelter had asked for a new vehicle several years in a row, and they got their request in early this year. I thought we somewhat tentatively agreed to fund that this year. Is that not true?
I didn't get the consensus of everybody to do that, but Lynn and I talked about it, so either we missed it or just.
I guess I got a question for the manager on this. What's your recommendation on, so I'm working on acquiring a vehicle for the animal shelter through some, I guess, local appropriations from Raleigh. Do you think it's better to include it in the budget, and then if that comes through, take it out of the budget, or?
If you want it, then you need to make a motion tonight, and then it can be put into the budget, and then if Raleigh comes through,
We could redirect.
if you will, then they can supplant the money that we have in our budget. It would be sort of tantamount to the ARPA money that replaced the salaries.
Okay.
What I can do is I can appropriate the revenue in hopes that we'll get it, but if we don't get it in today. I can do that. I can put in whatever we think, $50,000 as a revenue source to fund it. But if it doesn't come in, fund balance will cover that in today.
Okay.
And Ms. Jackson, I think you included, in fact, I know you included a replacement vehicle in your budget. Is it still in there?
It is.
All right, thank you.
So I guess at this time, I would suggest that we include the animal shelter vehicle.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
No, a second.
So we got a motion by Mr. Gatewood to include a truck for the animal shelter in the budget. Have a second by Commissioner Bricken. Any other discussion?
And as long as we can redirect those funds, if they come from Raleigh, we can just replace the fund back into the general, right? Okay, that would be fine.
Okay. All in favor of that, say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Well, I missed the vehicle that the social service had. What kind of vehicle was it?
The one that
I
got
don't know
ready,
what.
they had one that ready, they had applied for another one. It was like a SU.
Ms. Jackson, would you please respond to the question?
Yes, the Department of Social Services currently has 2 vehicles in this year's budget. We hope to, pick those vehicles up by the end of this week. One vehicle is a, van replacement, and the other vehicle is a, I think it was a 2016 Escape that was, wrecked when the juvenile stole the vehicle in Rock Hill.
Okay.
What's the status of our excess vehicles? Are we moving along with them pretty well? The excess vehicles from
Surplus vehicles.
Yeah, is this excess where I came from? Surplus, either way.
I'm not sure that's not.
Yes,
Ms. Cannon, haven't they been all the ones that we found titles for, which has been a problem?
yes. Our last meeting, we approved them to go on gov deals.
Like gov deal.
So
So
that's
how
it.
many vehicles do we have out there, surplus vehicles, potential surplus vehicles, without the titles?
I think we had 3 or 4, and I think essentially all of them's been found now. If not, then what I've talked to our folks about doing is going ahead and go down to our own DMV department and get a replacement title, because it don't cost that much.
They don't have to go far, do they?
Not far at all. I mean, there's no travel time.
Because getting rid of those surplus vehicles will be helpful to replacing the vehicles that you're referring. So, yeah.
Every little bit helps.
So finance is working on that, trying to identify all the vehicles we don't have titles for. This is a combination, never applying for one, never getting the liens off of the vehicles when they were in a car loan or just lost. So we're in the process of identifying those, and when we're done, we're gonna go and get a duplicate title for them. But we're ready whenever we do decide to sell them.
And I am working with Captain Beam, and we have 3 that we're gonna get titles for. So we get those back here, and then we'll put them on gov deals.
Okay, but everything that was listed on gov deals has a title,
Title
is
is
eligible for sale, yes.
We have about
Sure.
5 more that's gonna be ready shortly.
Okay.
Good, we need
Thank
the
you.
money, Sheriff.
Wash them and wax them up real good.
Have we put something in place going forward to make sure that we get titles and that we keep them, so that whenever we get ready to get rid of a vehicle?
We have done that.
Okay, good.
There's also a couple of properties, and I think we can get with Mr. Newton. There's still a couple of county properties left that need to be auctioned off. We probably need to work on that as well. There's at least 3 or 4 more that we know of.
And I'll talk to him about that as well, so that should be moving forward.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I think along those same lines, we still have the old water department building and acreage, and we have the acreage on Morven Road, the old hospital property. Is there some way we can monetize that, say in this next budget year?
We are, with the water department, we have the gas that's currently there, but we're currently, transitioning to the WEX cars. Okay, so where we won't have to operate and maintain gas facilities anymore. So we are slowly rolling those out. We've rolled them out to one department, we're just not to a couple more. So eventually, in the next 6 months, we're gonna be completely away from that.
And I'd also like to see an assessment of the amount of timber the county owns. Because last time we sold timber was probably 15 years ago, and you know, in 20, 25 years it can mature if handled properly. But I think there's some timber out there that we probably need to take a look at.
If it's not been harvested in 15 years,
15 to 20 years, it's almost mature, ready to
I
go.
would say so.
Yes.
Okay.
And then once we harvest the timber, we need to decide what we're going to do with the land.
Plan it back.
Surplus.
Surplus the land and put it back on the tax rolls. Yes.
Okay. Any other concerns or?
Well, one concern I have is regarding our fee schedule. You know, it seems to me that inflation is going up 3 to 5%, and it seems like our fees should go up at least 3%, and if not 5%, in this next fiscal year across the board.
You put it in a motion?
I make a motion that we increase our fees across the board 5% for this coming fiscal year.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do what?
All right, round it up.
$75.32.
I will amend my motion to that effect.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to increase the fee schedule across the board by 5%, rounding up to the nearest dollar. Second by Commissioner Mims. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Any opposed?
While we're talking about fee increases, I know that didn't include our water and sewer that we've talked about before, but has the board approved already, Ms. Cannon, the 11% increase for our water charges as well as sewer? That's in the budget. That was part of my recommendation.
Yes. No, we have not approved that. I was under the assumption we were going to approve that at our June 18th. But
June 18th?
I mean, but yeah, that's when the budget will be adopted.
When you adopt the budget, just want to make sure, it's because we've got it factored in, but I just want to make sure that
Yes.
the board's in favor of it so that it stays in.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to challenge you, but I think that's something we need to act on. If not
Separately?
tomorrow, tonight.
He's already, in other words, are we wanting to change it from the 11%, I guess is the question.
No.
It's already factored in at 11%.
All right.
So if it doesn't change, when we approve the budget on the 18th, it'll already be in there.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
So,
Thank you.
unless it's changing, I don't know that we need a,
No.
okay, all right.
I agree with you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Bring
Yeah.
back a new revised fee schedule to them on June 18th.
Okay, yes. So we should get, you'll include that with the email she's going to send out? Okay.
It's not in the budget, but it's something that I think we agreed upon, and that is bereavement leave. Ms. Ingram, could you please explain the proposed policy for us, please?
Yes, sir, there's a couple proposed policies for you in the budget year, and bereavement leave was one of those. We currently don't have bereavement leave, so what employees have to do, they have to use sick or vacation leave, or like recently I had an employee, they didn't have any time, so they had to take it without pay. So what we're proposing is doing, I believe, 3 days for bereavement. 3 days paid bereavement leave. And there's a proposed policy that we had sent out to you guys, I want to say maybe about a month ago, but if you don't have it, I can resend you those drafts. But that was one of the ones that we wanted to add for the next budget year.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we approve the bereavement leave of 3 days, and they can come back after the next fiscal year and we update the policy statement. And I'd really like for you to have a discussion, a meeting with the department heads on the policy wording, so that when it comes to us, it's ready for approval.
Okay.
All right? So that's my motion.
Okay.
I would second that, but I would actually, for sake of discussion, I think the 3 days is fine. That's typically, that's more or less universal. One of those days has to be the day of the funeral. It doesn't matter whether it's the first day, the last day, or the middle day.
Right.
But what I think would be appropriate, because 3 days doesn't work for everybody, is that 3 paid days, but then you got 2 days prior to the 3 days unpaid, or you can use vacation or whatever.
Right.
But the county would pay for 3 days, but you can get up to 5 days off, but it'll be on you, and they can actually take those 2 days without pay or without penalty if that's what the employee would like.
And that's
That's
actually
what I've been
how we
used
had
to.
kind of wrote it, where they could still take the additional days. It's just the county's going to give them those 3 in
3 days,
addition to
right, yeah.
the time off that they need.
So that's wording in there so that they know they can
Yes,
get
sir.
up to 2 days
Mhm.
prior to the 3 days.
Yes, sir. They could take up to 5 days, and then the department head can't authorize additional time if
Okay,
they need it.
all right, I'm good.
And one of the 3 days is the day of the funeral? Is that in the
That's
policy?
not in there, so I can add
All right,
that.
very good.
Okay.
Well, I will amend my motion to that effect. 3 days bereavement leave, and 1 day must be the day of the funeral.
Second.
Okay, so, so we had a motion on the floor by Commissioner Gatewood to approve the bereavement, policy change. We have a second by, I guess, Commissioner
I'll second.
Mims.
Mims second.
Yeah, because after the amended motion so we have a motion, a second by Commissioner Mims. Any further discussion on bereavement pay? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank you.
What was the other policy change you have?
I think there were several in
There
that
was
last
several.
meeting, yeah.
Yeah,
The longevity.
Longevity was one of them.
right.
Increasing the cap to 2,000. Over the one of the things that Mr. Sussman has sent out to the department heads was about maybe think 5 years, we're moving the cap. So we was gonna increment it like 400 over the next 5 years. So starting out the next budget year be 2,000 for the cap increase, and another tier of 25 or more years, they get 10% of the annual salary. Right now, the cap is at 20 and they at the 8%. So adding that next tier, and then also giving credit for those who have service from other counties. So right now with longevity and vacation accruals, you only get the time that's with the county of Anson. But one thing that we want to do to help with recruitment, because a lot of people don't want to start over. So once they've been here over 6 months, where we can verify their time in the retirement system, is give them credit for that time served. Because there are some counties that do that, because we've actually had people turn us down for jobs because they didn't want to start over with that vacation. So we will be able to verify that information, and we can also use it as a recruitment tool. And it will also benefit current employees who did come from other counties as well. When we last looked at it, I want to say it's probably about 30 employees that would benefit. If the board does decide to approve that, what we would do is reach out to the department heads, get a true count of how many did transfer from the state or other local agencies, just to make sure that we're not missing anybody. But just from the record keeper that I've done, there's at least 30 employees that would benefit from that. And that was one of the other policy changes, and that affects longevity and vacation.
And the increase in the longevity cap is gonna cost us about $37,000 this year.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the increase in the longevity cap to $2,000. The last increase dates back to 2009. And back in 2009, we said we'll address it again in 10 years, so we're behind schedule.
I'd second that motion.
Discussion. I need to be removed from this vote. It's gonna benefit me.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Forbes,
Yes.
we have a motion on the floor in a second. We have a commissioner who needs to recuse himself from this motion, from voting. Do we need to vote to allow him to that, or does the chairman grant him that?
Well, no, he needs, the proper procedure is for him to request it, someone to make, for him to state a reason, and then for y'all to vote on whether he can recuse himself.
I'd like to hear the reason.
Because it affects me, because I get to go into the previous employment. That's gonna put me in to get those benefits.
Thank you, Ms. Mims.
We're not, it's a little bit different for that.
Oh, okay.
I'd make a motion for Commissioner Mills to be recused from this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn, from Commissioner Mims to be recused. We have a second by Commissioner Gatewood. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now,
Make a motion that we increase the cap for longevity to $2,000 for the
Okay.
coming fiscal year.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to increase the longevity cap to $2,000. Have a second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
What about the tier for 25?
The tier.
Yeah, that was
I
enough.
gotta mention that.
Oh,
The adding the 25 year tier.
okay.
Well, the cap remains $2,000.
Yeah, either way, but we wanted to add a tier for 25 year and up.
All right.
That was suggested in the last meeting by the manager in the HR policy changes.
All right, I'll amend my motion to that effect.
I second it.
Okay.
My second was still staying, since he submitted it.
Okay, so the amended motion by Commissioner Gatewood is to extend the longevity, to cap the longevity at 2,000 and to add another tier into the longevity
For
at
25 years.
25 years.
Yes, sir.
There's another part to it. What about credit for those that have service with other local agencies? That was the third part.
That was coupled with the vacation accruals too.
Yeah, that's another policy that we was looking at.
So that would happen up front, though, wouldn't it? I mean, if it's the same as the vacation, they get credit for time worked somewhere else.
But we need it in the motion because it's currently not a board.
Yeah, it's
policy.
currently not a board policy.
It's just years of service with the county.
Right.
That's all
Okay.
it is.
So if they come from another county with that particular amount of leave, that we would honor that here.
We would honor them their years of service in accruing vacation leave, and honor their years of service in years they need to qualify for longevity. So if they have 10 years in Union County,
Right.
they come here, they start out the first year and get their 10 years and whatever percent that is.
And I would make that motion that we include. Unless that's an amended.
So, do you want to amend your motion to include the?
I will.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Clerk, you're earning your money tonight. We have another amended motion from Commissioner Gatewood to include the longevity pay, or longevity cap at 2,000, add a tier for 25 years, and to include prior service from another county. Okay. We have a motion from Commissioner Gatewood for that. Second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, because that'll help us get more experienced candidates that wouldn't come otherwise.
Right.
Yes, sir.
It's just another retention, not retire, another recruit.
All of that's geared towards recruitment of employees. Yes. So-
And then the vacation, this is just the next policy. It ties back into the same thing, giving them credit once they're past their probation, years of service and retirement system.
That hadn't been done yet. I thought we did.
No, sir.
Make a motion.
I tell you, what, going forward, let's get all this stuff on the table at the same time. So one motion takes care of
Well, it was all presented at the same time last meeting in our manager's report, and I'm assuming, I don't think we voted on, we
tabled it.
Talk too fast and confuse it.
No, we wanted to hear from Ms. Ingram. I mean, she's the expert in this area. She's making the proposal, and she needs to present it and defend it.
Okay, I make that motion then that we give employees that come from other counties, we recognize their service as part of the vacation time.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, wait a minute.
That gets you.
Yeah, so get me to you. You gotta take me out of that.
Okay, let's back up then. I withdraw my motion and make a motion to recuse.
A second.
Commissioner Mims from this vote.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn to recuse Commissioner Mims from this vote. We have a second by Commissioner Gatewood. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now
I
we
make
just,
the motion on vacation to give employees that come from other counties credit for time served when they come to work for Fancy County.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Woodburn to credit new employees, crediting their vacation time from another county. We have a second by Commissioner Gatewood. Any discussion? Mr. Manager, you?
No, I just want to add something after you do.
Okay, all right. Okay, so no other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
While we're talking about benefits, Ms. Ingram standing there, and our finance director is still here as well. Mr. Gatewood asked me at the last meeting, whenever I went through that litany of things that I added first, and we brought it back tonight, to poll the department heads. So I did. I sent an email out to everybody. There's 4 of them that said yes, because 2 of them are here tonight, and you're looking at one of them at behind the podium, the other one's right here, because we put it together. Then I had 2 other positive responses. I'm taking, since I got the negative responses, that everybody's in favor of it. I mean, so why would people be opposed to more money? That's what I took. So I gave them a deadline. That deadline's expired, but I'm not beating up anybody. I'm not calling any names. But while we're talking about it, there was also on that work that both Ms. Ingram and also Ms. Berry have researched, and that deals with our 401k. Law enforcement is at 5%, and other employees are at 3%
Yes.
across the board. And so what we'd like to recommend, since you're approving these tonight, and then since Commissioner Mims may have to recuse himself again, because I have 2 other issues. One's the 401k. We were recommending it over a 4-year time frame, raise that 3% to 3.5. That would take effect in FY25, and then the year after, and of course it'll all come back to you again. Then it goes up till it gets to 5%. So that's one issue. The other one, if you could do it all in one motion, would be the Christmas bonus that we've talked about a number of times over the last 2 years. And that was, Ms. Berry had recommended, because of the complexity of computing, everybody's different, because everybody has different deductions on their taxes, is to do a separate $150 check for everybody. And it would be part-time and full-time. And if you could approve that tonight, then we don't have to mess with it again.
Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for, yes, if you need to be recused, Mr. Mims has asked to be recused from this vote.
On the Christmas bonus one, you may consider being recused too, right? Because that's directly coming to you. just an idea.
The raise is too, and I voted for that.
But the Christmas bonus, okay.
I mean, I'm just, you asked the question.
No, and
I
I'm-
did the raise, I voted for that.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, but, no, I'm not.
Mr. Forbes, did you,
Yeah, she did not ask to be recused. She was fine with it simply because.
I didn't say you should or shouldn't, I just said you might consider.
She does work for the board, so that board will do this, and then we have a small, I'm looking to make sure, double check on this too, but I read it the other day, the small jurisdiction exception for this. The thing about it is it doesn't address exactly this, but it talks about his contracts and benefiting from contracts and receiving direct benefits from people. One thing is, her department answers to the DSS board, from what I understand. And so that would be enough, because she is voting for the entire team, not just for something directly for her, and she has a duty to vote. I can't find anything against her in her situation from doing that. So
okay.
I'm being open with you. I've called the school government. I've looked at the case law. I can't find anything that prohibits her under this circumstance for doing that.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, Mr. Mims, are you still asking to be recused? So we have a motion,
If he believes he has a conflict or an appearance of a conflict, that he can ask to do that.
okay. So this time I'll
Make a motion, we recuse Mr. Mims at his request.
Second.
have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to recuse Commissioner Mims from this vote. Second by Commissioner Woodburn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now I'll entertain a motion to approve the policy change that was presented by Mr. Sossman on the 401k increases and what was the second?
And the
Christmas card bonus, yes.
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman, and this is a gap that we've been closing for 20 years. It's been 3% for regular employees, 5% for sworn law enforcement officers, and we said we're going to close it, so we're making tremendous progress tonight. Thank you.
I second it.
Okay, so have the motion by Commissioner Gatewood, and I can to increase the 401k from 3% to 5%.
No, 3% to
or 3.5 for this first year. Yes. Okay, and then what was the Christmas card bonus? I can't remember that. So and to include the Christmas bonus of $150 flat.
Separate check.
Right, separate check. Yes. So we have that's Commissioner Gatewood made the motion. Commissioner Little Reed made the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any more policy changes?
Just 2 more.
2 more.
2 more, then we'll be done. Sick leave. Currently, right now, employees that transfer from other counties, they get their sick leave after a year. We want to move it up to 6 months when they come off probation. So that's the next policy change. Shorten that gap. It actually benefit like 10 new hires that we have right now, and then any future new hires that's coming from other counties.
Shortening the probation period to 6 months?
Well, for their sick leave, so they can get their sick leave sooner. Because
Okay.
right now they have to wait a year to get it.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to, I don't know why that thing.
It's gonna benefit me.
Make a motion, we recuse Mr. Mims again.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to recuse Mr. Mims by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Woodburn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now I'll entertain a motion to shorten the probationary period for sick leave accrual.
Transfer.
Or transfer. Or transfer, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, the last one I have is sign-on bonus. This was something that was brought up. I don't know if the board still wants to move forward with it, but we was looking at 2 different bonuses amount. Again, looking at what some of our other counties are doing. I got mixed feedback. Some thought it made a difference, some didn't. But what we was thinking about having like some basic guidelines of doing a sign-on bonus between $1,800 up to $3,600 for eligible positions. Positions that we was looking at is those that's been vacant a long time, like our EMS, those EMT positions, paramedic positions, our sheriff office, the deputy sheriff, detention officers, social services, the social worker 3 position. At the time when we first was discussing this, we had a vacant social worker 3 supervisor position open, so those are the ones that we were looking at, just based off how long those positions have been open, and they've just been difficult to fill. And then the bonus will be based off pretty much if they're fully qualified or they're not, because sometimes they can come in a work against position, and then the department head will have to request if they can have that position advertised for a sign-on bonus. So if they do the 1,800, it'll be based off $150 after 30 days of service, and then they'll get that paid in bi-weekly increments up until the balance in full is paid. If they're getting the 3,600, then be paid at 300 bi-weekly. And if they leave, then that stops the bonus. If they transfer to a position that's not bonus eligible, then that stops the bonus as well. And then we also have like a draft contract for you guys that Mr. Forbes has also reviewed. And then we also have a policy draft in there as far as where we put that in the policy. And then each year during budget time, the board will review to see how much you want to put aside for bonuses, if you want to do that.
Ms. Ingram, I'd like to suggest we hold off doing that.
Okay.
I mean, given some of the decisions that's going to cost the county a lot of money that we've made tonight, I would suggest we hold off.
I guess in addition to that, you know, I know positions that we have open that's hard to fill. Are there any other positions that are difficult to fill that may not be open at this time? So at whatever point in time we get to that, just look at all of them at one time.
Right. And as I recall your original list, the health director was not on that list, and that's been a vacancy for 2 years plus.
We was looking at the emergency services because we knew that was the focus of the board at one point, emergency personnel. So that's why we start with emergency services. But I know social services also struggle with filling positions. And then looking at the counties that was doing bonuses, I was looking at those positions that they offer bonuses for, and that was one of the ones.
Understand exactly what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, but given the 11% across the board that we've approved today, I think that will help us along and go a long way in recruitment.
And later on, if something really is standing out hard to recruit, like the health position, we can look at that individually, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So.
If we still continue to have the vacancies, then we can look at the sign-on bonuses. So, okay.
I think we may be getting close to filling the health director slot, but it has taken a long time. And the other thing, in all fairness to the way the health department is running, the interim is doing such a good job. They hadn't been in a rush on this.
Absolutely. She's doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Ingram?
That's all I have, unless the pay plan, did you want to do that now, Lynn, or did you want to wait?
If you want to do it, you go right ahead if the board's game.
Okay. Well, it's going to change now since you're doing 11%.
Right.
But just kind of give you an idea what we were thinking about doing. We had talked about this back in January about separating the sheriff office out because you've already approved the reorganization, but we never officially separated them out of the pay plan.
Yes.
So this is just putting them on their own pay plan, and then there was one position that appeared to be out of the range, but when you separate them and define as 4.5, then that will fix that situation. And then Chief Debs had called me earlier about a training position, so I had talked to Lynn about that, so we went ahead and added that up under for the sheriff office. And that will be bringing that individual at a grade 62. And from how Chief Mims explained it to me, which is kind of what the sheriff said, they'd be like a trainee, and then once they get fully certified, and then they can be moved up to the grade 63, which should be a deputy sheriff. So this right here that you have in front of you, this was based off a 5% COLA, and then a 2.5 on the higher and minimum. So there has some separation between people coming in off the street. But now we would just adjust that from 5% to 11%.
Yeah.
And then I guess the higher and minimum we'll probably do 5.5 instead of 2.5. I have to get with Lynn to see how he wants to do that. But we've been trying to increase the higher and minimum, not at the full amount, so you don't have people brand new off the street coming in making the same thing that your existing employees are making.
I have one question, Ms. Ingram.
Yes, sir.
Salary grade 79, our utilities director, social services director. 80 includes the finance director, the public health director, and the sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Social services is probably the largest department we have in Anson County government, a very complex department. Now, why is it 79 as opposed to 80?
That was set up back when the county did their last pay study. I think it was in 2008, and that was the same pay plan, and it just hasn't been reclassified. So if the board wants to look at reclassifying, we can do that at
Well,
this time.
not only look at it, I'd like to make that motion that we increase the social services director from 79 to 80. And that would put her in the same vein as the health director, the finance director, and the sheriff. Do I hear a second?
I'm sorry, I was still reading the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm-
All right.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to move the social services director to a grade 80, or I guess to combine, to put that position into a grade 80 on the salary grade. Have a second by Commissioner Little Reed and Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussions on that?
How many people are in that department?
In social services,
Yes.
52?
Ms. Jackson, how many people do you have?
Currently 54 employees and 6 vacancies.
Okay,
Okay,
so
60.
60, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What about separating the sheriff office into their own? Or do you wanna leave it as it previously was?
You say separate the sheriff's office, how do you?
Yeah,
mean?
kinda having them in their own pay scale, because there's one position, with the reorganization, it makes it, looks like the person is outside their pay range. But I never got permission from the manager or the board to separate the, sheriff office as far as adjusting the range. So when we did the reorganization of 12.5, we never did anything with the pay allocation plan. So what we was looking at is possibly just separating the sheriff office, because you did already reorganize that office. Just do a pay plan to show that reorganization from last year, just making it official.
Where would they fall out on?
Y'all gave them a 12.5% COLA, and we didn't move that scale 12.5%, we moved on to 2.5%, because there's other positions in there that didn't get the 12.5% COLA. So you sort of created another scale just for the sheriff department. That's what we're trying to.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to correct.
We're trying to
Okay.
fix that.
So you're saying redo this and put them where they belong on here? Or
Yes,
they
sir, we'll
already-
just separate, and that's what this is at the, bottom of the back page. So what we would do is just take them out with the other positions that's already in there with the sheriff office, and then the sheriff office just be their own separate office in the pay plan.
Well, Katie, if the board adopts this plan that you just gave, 4 sheets, the back page, the bottom half is what you're talking about, the sheriff's separate plan.
Yes.
So if you do all of that in one motion, then it's done.
Yes, sir, that's what we just need to
Okay.
for the board to approve.
Well, why don't we move the sheriff to salary grade 81, and that would accomplish the same thing.
You can do that too. I just have to have board approval.
You're not,
You're not giving all the other positions that you gave
Yeah.
them to the higher range either.
Yeah, because the,
Okay.
You wanna make sure you move them up as well, not just the sheriff.
because the maximum in the grade 60 on this back page is 60,000, and the maximum on the grade 60 on the front page is 54,000, so it's,
So there's a disparity.
Yeah.
You wanna make sure you give the other positions the same.
yeah.
Okay, so are we saying, and just using the example Commissioner Bricken just did, yeah, that don't make sense. I was gonna say, so as far as, wait a minute, okay.
Would it not be,
Record specialist would come out of 60 on the front, is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir. So we'll take them out the general pay plan and just put them in like their own separate plan on the back. Because it hasn't been officially approved yet, I left them where they're currently at in the pay plan.
Mhm.
So you can see what it will look like if you left it as is. But if you left it as is, there is one position in the sheriff office that would appear to be outside the range, because we never adjusted the pay plan when we did the reorganization last year.
And what position is outside the range?
That'd be the sheriff.
That would be the sheriff.
Yes, sir.
How much outside the range is he?
You remember I said
One, back here on the back, it says 137 is the maximum on,
yeah, it was $3,000 or $4,000 from,
I would have to
yeah,
look
so
at
it's
his
130 and then 137, right?
I
So
think it's
7,000.
maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 outside
Looks
the
like
range.
7,000.
It's not that much.
971 to 137. Oh, shit, that's more than that.
I don't have his salary in front of me right now.
137.
But I think it's like 5,000 or 6,000.
the
outside.
last document you give us, I was thinking it was 4,000 maybe.
Yeah, it's not that much, but it is outside.
So,
Let me see, let me do the math right quick.
37.
His motion earlier for an Ollie and the board of the 11%, that was for every employee, correct?
Yes.
Just wanna make sure.
Full-time and part-time.
You basically have already approved it, you just had formally approved it in the.
Is that like 13,000?
You approved the
12,193.
Yeah, that's more than 4,000.
We just haven't adjusted the pay scale, and that's what we're asking to adjust it
Okay.
according to the way you actually approved it last year.
Is it gonna be hard for you in HR to have two different?
No, sir. Because I've already created, it's just getting that approval and then adding that cadet position.
Is that what you would recommend that as the solution?
I would, yes, sir. I think that would fit. Since you technically already did it, this is just a formality of making sure everything matched from what we did last year. Because we really should have did last year, but we're just trying to fix something that wasn't done, last year.
I would make a motion based on Ms. Ingram's recommendation that we move to have a separate grade schedule for the sheriff's office.
Okay, we got him.
I'm so sorry, I tried to hear that, I could not hear all that.
Commissioner Brickett made a motion to approve the pay scale, the updated pay scale that separates the sheriff's department into their own pay scale, as been presented right here by Ms. Ingram.
I understand what that is, I
Yes.
just didn't hear that
Yeah,
part.
yes, as presented by Ms. Ingram in this form. So we have a motion by Commissioner Brickett. Do we have a second?
Okay.
It's her sheriff's department that put me on work, that's what I gotta make sure.
Yeah, it seemed like, well, and let me just ask a dumb question.
Okay.
We said we're moving you're moving all the sheriff's department positions into this scale on the back, but then what's on the back is different than what's on the front. It's higher.
Because
Quite a
that's
bit higher.
including the reorganization from last year.
Because it
they
has
got
12.
10% more.
They're already there.
Yes, sir.
So
this
they're
is
not
already
getting more
factored in
money,
the
they're
extra
just
10% from
fitting where
last
they're
year.
supposed to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That
not
portion on the bottom is with their 12.5% that was already given last year.
So they've already received it. This is just formalizing and putting it on paper.
Okay.
They're not
Okay.
actually getting anything extra as far as pay. This is just making the paper records match what we've already done.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming together for me. Okay, I'll make the second now.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Bricken to approve the pay allocation plan. Second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
That's all I have for you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ingram. All right, at this time, any other issues concerning the budget?
You all covered the entire water.
Oh, I think we have covered
Well,
it
I
all.
want one other clarification. Ms. Berry, a citizen approached me recently saying, well, y'all got $29 million in your fund balance. You can afford to do a lot of stuff. Now, you said earlier that really our fund balance, undesignated, is $11.7 million.
There are two different numbers.
Excellent.
11.7 is what we took. The rest is held for other purposes.
All right, thank you.
That total number is 29.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the percentage is what we got to look at, and the target is somewhere around 30, I think, normally, what they taught us. So, if we're, yeah, so if we're at right close to 30, that's right where we're supposed to be, I think.
Thank you, Ms. Berry.
Okay. Any other issues on the budget? Okay, hearing none, I think Commissioner Little Reed, you have an item you want to bring?
I got a call from a concerned citizen about an incident that happened at a church yesterday. They called 911, and when they got down there, they had some kind of faulty equipment. And one of the members of the church wanted me to ask if they check the equipment daily to make sure that it's workable. Because he said that could have been a serious incident, because what they had to do, they couldn't take that ambulance, they had to call and get another one.
Oh, the ambulance.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said sheriff.
The hydraulics of the ambulance malfunction. They called
Okay.
me about it.
and they needed wanted
For the second unit, because the hydraulics didn't work.
wouldn't work. And they just wanted to know if, Rodney, or if the staff is checking the equipment daily to make sure that it's workable before it goes out.
I don't know that answer for sure, but I'm guessing that they have a protocol in place where they do daily truck checks.
Yeah, they should have SOPs in place to require that. Was it Anson EMS or Rescue?
Anson EMS. It was EMS.
Well, did the hydraulic line break right when they started it up? Because I
They
mean,
don't know.
Accidents happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They said it was a hydraulic problem when the supervisor was
Yeah.
Yeah. As much equipment as I run, I can tell you, you never can be prepared too much. So,
Yeah.
and so accidents happen, and so I'm not familiar with the incident, but we can inquire about it. Okay. So. Okay. I'll get you an answer on that. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to end this meeting.
Okay.
Recess until the 18th.
Well, no, we're going to adjourn this one. Yeah. So, okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
End.
End. I don't know who. Did you second that, Mr. Woodburn?
I will.
Okay, Commissioner Woodburn seconded. All in favor, say aye.
That was my Biden moment.